Welcome back to Inner Echoes Collective. To everyone returning, I see you, I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're still here. And if you're new, you found this place at exactly the right time. Everyone is welcome here. Before I tell you what today's video is about, I need you to sit with a question. Not, do I want a relationship? Almost everyone wants one. The real question is harder than that. Am I emotionally ready for one? Because those two things, wanting love and being ready for it, are not the same thing. And the gap between them, that's where most of the heartbreak lives. I'm not saying this to call anyone out. I'm saying it because I believe awareness is the first act of self love. You can't change what you won't honestly look at. So today, 5 signs you may not be ready for a relationship, even if you genuinely believe you are. As you watch this, I'm asking you one thing: don't defend yourself, just observe. Because growth doesn't happen when we argue with the truth. It happens when we finally stop running from it. Sign one: you confuse intensity for intimacy. The first sign is this: you've mistaken emotional intensity for emotional connection. If something feels fast, consuming, electric, you assume that must be love. But here's what nobody tells you: intensity is not intimacy, attraction is not alignment. Sometimes what feels like chemistry is actually your nervous system recognizing a familiar pattern, not safety, familiarity. And for a lot of us, familiar doesn't mean healthy, it just means known. So ask yourself honestly: when you imagine being in love, do you feel calm? Or do you feel anxious, activated, always waiting for the next message, the next mood shift, the next reassurance? Because healthy love doesn't feel like a suspense thriller. It feels consistent, grounded, safe. And if you've never had that, if chaos is what you grew up calling connection, your body will keep chasing the storm and calling it love. Sign two: you disappear to be chosen. The second sign is quieter, but it runs deep. You abandon yourself in order to be selected. You become agreeable, flexible, easy. You fold the parts of yourself that feel too much or not enough. You call it patience. You call it being understanding. But underneath it, if you're honest, there's a fear whispering, if they really see me, they'll leave. So you manage yourself. You make yourself smaller, safer, easier to love. And slowly, without noticing it, you disappear inside the relationship you were trying to build. Here's the line I want you to hold on to: if you have to abandon yourself to keep someone, that's not love, that's survival. Love doesn't require you to shrink. The right connection will have room for all of you. Sign three: you believe love is something you earn. The third sign is one of the oldest wounds in the book. You believe love is a reward, not a right. So you perform for it. You overgive, over explain, overprove. You exhaust yourself trying to demonstrate your value. And without realizing it, you start attracting people who reinforce that belief. People who always need a little more from you before they fully commit. But here's what I need you to hear: you are not an audition, you are a whole person. Healthy love doesn't require you to earn your place in someone's life. And if you're constantly working to be chosen, that's not a relationship. That's a job you never applied for. Sign four: you've lost contact with your own needs. The fourth sign is this: you don't know what you need emotionally, or you know, and you've trained yourself to ignore it. You override the discomfort, you silence the intuition, you justify the things that feel off because it's easier to rationalize than to face what's true. And over time, you stop trusting yourself entirely. Not because you're broken, but because you've been abandoning your own signals for so long that you can't hear them anymore. Here's the gem: your emotions are not the problem, they are the data. And if you keep silencing the signal, you will keep missing the message. Sign five: you believe love will fix what healing needs to fix. The fifth sign, and maybe the most important one: You believe that love will solve it, that if the connection is strong enough, the inconsistency won't matter. The emotional unavailability will warm up, the red flags will fade. But love doesn't fix emotional immaturity. Love doesn't replace self awareness, and love cannot heal patterns that someone, or you, refuses to acknowledge. You cannot love someone into becoming available, and no one can love you into feeling whole if you don't believe you are. Love is not a cure, it's a mirror, and whatever you bring into it will be reflected back at you, amplified. If you saw yourself in any of these signs, please don't use this as a reason to judge yourself. Use it as a reason to see yourself clearly, honestly, without the armor, because clarity is the beginning of change. No, if you have unrealistic expectations, how can you approach relationships in a way that is fair to both yourself and your partner? It's important to recognize that having unrealistic expectations can be harmful, not only to you, but also to your partner. The book, The Science of Relationships, Answers to Your Questions About Dating, Marriage, and Family, highlights that unrealistic expectations can lead to disappointment, hurt feelings, and even resentment towards your partner. In romantic relationships, we all have certain expectations, and it's normal to have those. You wouldn't want to be with someone who doesn't meet your needs and wants, right? However, your expectations can only be unrealistic if you force it on someone who isn't willing to meet them. It's important to recognize that having unrealistic expectations can put unnecessary pressure on the relationship and create tension and stress for both partners. Successful relationships require effort and compromises from both partners, not just one. Instead of having unrealistic expectations of your partner, approach relationships with a realistic and open mindset. It's important to remember that healthy expectations in relationships are possible when communicated peacefully. If you find that your expectations are not being met, it's important to assess whether the person you're with is still compatible with you. Clinical psychologist Dr. Seth Meyers reminds us that there is no such thing as a perfect person or relationship. Communication, compromise, and dedication from both partners are necessary for a healthy and fulfilling relationship. Remember that relationships are not a solution to personal problems, and that a partnership based on mutual respect and understanding is key to success. You've not fully addressed your personal issues. Are you struggling with personal issues like low self esteem, anxiety, or depression? If so, it's important to address these issues before jumping into a new relationship. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Seth Meyers, unresolved personal issues can make it difficult for us to trust others, communicate effectively, and establish emotional intimacy with our partners. Not only that, but these issues can also lead you to project your insecurities onto your partner or become overly dependent on them for your happiness. But don't worry, there are steps you can take to work on resolving these personal issues. Seeking therapy, practicing self care, and developing healthy coping mechanisms can all be helpful in the healing process. By taking time to work on yourself and becoming emotionally healthy, you can enter into relationships with a stronger sense of self awareness and confidence, which can ultimately lead to healthier and more fulfilling relationships. If you find this video relatable and helpful, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You're still emotionally attached to your ex. Have you ever found yourself still thinking about an ex when you're trying to move on? Or maybe you find yourself comparing new partners to your ex. If so, it's important to take a step back and ask yourself if you're truly ready for a new relationship. Breakups can be tough, and it's okay to feel sad or disappointed, but it's important to be mindful of your feelings and recognize when they start to affect your ability to move on. Dr. Gary Brown, a prominent relationship therapist, suggests that constantly thinking about your ex or comparing new partners to them could indicate that you're not yet emotionally ready for a new relationship. This can prevent you from forming a strong and healthy connection with someone new. After a breakup, taking time to heal and seeking support from friends, family, or a therapist can be helpful. While it's normal to think about your ex, constantly thinking about them, or feeling intense emotions may suggest that you're not ready for a new relationship just yet. So it's recommended to focus on personal growth and self care before starting a new relationship. Can you relate to any of these signs? Which sign hit closest to home? You don't have to explain yourself, just let it land. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.